Okay, welcome. This is our Empathy Cafe on for mutual support for the COVID-19 pandemic. The time we have for this is about 2.5 hours. You can go for 2 hours, and we'll have a post section where you can, if you're time pressed, if you're in Europe or what have you, and it's getting pretty late there, you don't need to take part in the last 30 minutes, but we'll have sort of a debrief there. And so let me give you an outline for what we're going to be doing. We're going to start off with short participant introductions. We'll just go around, share a little bit. We'll just give a quick intro to how to take part in the empathy circles, and then review our topic, and then go into, looks like maybe 2 breakout rooms. And we'll go for almost an hour and 45 minutes sharing in there. Then we'll come back for the last half hour. We'll do a sharing of your experience and sort of a debrief. And there's a Google Doc that's in the chat box there if you want to add your contact info, name, and so forth. So let's go around, introduce ourselves. Just your name, location, you know, what organization you're part of, if you're part of XR or any other organization. And I think that's pretty much it, just a quick intro. So I'm Edwin Rutch. I'm from the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy, and also part of the XR Empathy Circle work group. And I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. So Carolina, do you want to introduce yourself, and we choose people, go around and your screen and just choose each person?
Okay. My name is Carolina. You can call me Caro. I'm calling from Poland, Central Europe. I am a member of local XR group. I'm also a member of Global Support and Empathy team. And next on my screen is Itza. Would you introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. So yeah, my name is Itza. I live in Sweden, in a village in the forest in Sweden, and I'm active in XR Sweden nationally, and in another organization where we practice on active bystander trainings. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Fatima is next on my screen. You are muted, Fatima. I will try unmute you.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm on now. So I'm from Portugal, and I'm still not part of the XR, of any XR group, but I'm part of a team called Comover-se, which is untranslatable, I think, but it's a mutual support group for emotional support and also practical support.
Mm-hmm.
And can I pass it? Should I pass it?
Let me do that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Next on my screen is Matt. Matt.
Hi. Yeah, so my name is Matt. I'm involved with Extinction Rebellion in Cork in Ireland. Yeah, I haven't participated in an empathy circle before. I'm interested and yeah, interested to see how this goes. So thanks for welcoming me.
Thank you. Marta.
Hi, I'm also in Cork in Ireland, and I'm part of XR region nationally, and also the Empathy Cycle group.
Thank you. Then a mystery person called VMM Mark. You are muted.
Hi, I haven't had a chance to change my name. My name's Sarah, and I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area in California. and I work for environmental nonprofits, and I'm also the Alameda County Green Party counselor.
Okay, thank you. Peter, Peter, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Peter. I'm from Aylesbury. Can you understand me? I'm from. Is my sound working? Is it working? Yes. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm from Aylesbury in Buckinghamshire. I belong to a local XR group there. I've been to one of Edwin's group before. I've seen you before as well, Katrina. So I'm hoping just to learn a little bit more as time goes on, bit by bit. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben, would you introduce yourself? You are muted.
Yeah, my name's Ben. I'm from Sheffield. I'm a member of the Sheffield XR group. Yeah.
Thank you. Sally? Sally Rodeman?
Hi. Yes, I'm from Kathy's Valley, California, and just eating something right now. And I have been kind of doing a lot of different ones, just kind of moving around, but I want to participate in the COVID-19 in order to, you know, add people to the process.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer?
Hi, my name is Jennifer. I am located in Boulder, Colorado. This is my first time participating, but
Your mic, you have to...
better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, this is my first time participating in an empathy circle, but I've done a lot of similar work in the realm of authentic relating and bringing this type of work into prisons. I work with a nonprofit called Authentic Relating International. So I'm excited to be a part of this today.
Okay, thank you. James?
Hi, everyone. I'm James. I organize a group that works to come together on what we have in common and explore talking across differences. The name is Everyone Shut Up, and that's a kind of irreverent, humorous way of recognizing that we often have difficulty coming together and talking.
Okay, thank you. Bill?
Hi, I'm Bill Filler. I'm part of the Empathy Tent team. I've been working with Edwin for a couple of years now, and Carolina. Enjoying it very much. Thanks.
And last person on my screen, if I don't miss anyone, is AC.
Well, hi, sorry I'm late. Just trouble getting set up. I'm Alex. I'm with Extinction Rebellion in Calgary. And I'm here to learn about like nonviolent communications and empathetic connections.
Thank you. I hope that's all of us because my screen was changing, but I hope that's all of us. And back to you, Edwin.
Okay, thanks, Carolina. So I'm putting a link into a Google Doc in for anyone that hasn't added your name and contact info. You can do it at any time. It's just a place to share any contact info that you like to have others know about. You can ask any questions or comments there about the empathy circle practice, and you can also use it during the call to take notes at, and we harvest that and put it into a, not your contact info, but the rest of it we put onto a web page for the recording of this call. So let's see, I guess the next step was to talk about how to do the empathy circle. Most of the people here were rather familiar with the practice, but instead of showing the whole longer video, I'll just explain it in brief, and then you can just learn by taking part in the call itself. We'll be doing 3 empathy circles. Maybe Carolina and Martha would facilitate one, and Bill do one. Does that work? Okay.
Sure.
So the empathy circle, there's in this process, we will have groups of 4 or 5, and one person will be the speaker, and they'll select who they speak to. Our topic is to talk about mutual support around the COVID-19, the pandemic. So you can share anything that's up for you, whatever is alive for you, and you speak to the person that you've selected, who's the active listener. You speak, maybe an idea or two, and then you pause to let this listener reflect back their understanding of what you have said. And you sort of check, did they understand it? If they didn't, then you can say it again, maybe in other words. And if they did understand it, then you can continue, just along whatever's coming up for you. Then as the listener, you just listen. You reflect back your understanding in your own words of what the speaker said. And you don't want to add any of your own ideas, don't ask questions, don't, make comments, or just reflect back what you're hearing the speaker say. The one time you can interrupt is if the speaker is going on for quite a while and you think, oh, I'm losing the thread, I'm not going to be able to reflect back accurately. You can just say, oh, would you pause so that I can reflect back what I'm hearing. And then once we're going to have 5-minute turns, you'll get to speak for up to 5 minutes, including the reflections. And then once your time is up, or you don't have anything else to say, you can say something like, I feel fully heard. That just means you don't have anything else to say. And then the listener becomes the speaker. They select who they're going to speak to, and then you speak to them, and that the same process happens. We just go around for the time allotted, which is going to be 1 hour and 45 minutes we have for being in the circles. So that's the basics. Any of the other details will kind of come up with the facilitators in the group, can help with those basic details. So our topic was, just about mutual support for COVID-19. Talk about whatever's alive for you. You can share feelings of stress, anxiety, fear, joy, whatever is coming up for you. And could also think of, how do we use these empathy circles to support others? There's a real need in the society and community for people who are alone and or maybe just feeling a lot of stress in their own lives, and that maybe you can become a facilitator and have empathy circles and support them as well. So with that, we have 5-minute turns, and let me just make sure everybody's in a group. They are. So we're going to go into the circles right away, and I'll be recording the first one, and the other two I think we don't need to record. So let's open all the rooms. Here we go. So you got about 1 hour and 45 minutes.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Okay. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
To our call. Let me I gotta just after a little bit of technical stuff here too. I'm also tracking the larger calls here. So, okay, so we're ready to start with our, and I'm going to be timekeeper. Or somebody want to be timekeeper? Somebody has a watch there. We do 5-minute turns. I can be the
timekeeper.
Oh, thank you. So we'll have 5 minutes. So we can start, if someone wants to start, you can maybe just speak to me and I can model how we do the reflection, and say whatever is alive for you around the COVID-19 or whatever.
I can start.
Okay, I'm listening.
I'm just worried that, do we have James on? That was going to take the time?
Yeah, I'm just getting my timer.
Beautiful.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
So I'm hearing you had some concerns about James, if he was here or not.
Um, for me, what all this situation has brought up is like a sense of restlessness and yeah, mostly restlessness and tiredness because I cannot see how what I'm doing is in a way meaningful. I work with I'm right now working with children at the school, and I have been like very critical to school systems for a long time, and now that sense of like this system really doesn't work, it gets like multiplied 100%. This sense of what is this institution, like what are we doing to kids, what are we doing to young children, what doesn't make sense to me.
Can I reflect that? So yeah, you're a teacher, and you've been wondering like what is it that the school doesn't really make sense what you're doing with children and to children. Now that's sort of been amplified in this time. You're really questioning sort of the whole school process and the meaning behind it, maybe.
Yeah, and it's not that I don't see that schools are not needed. I can completely like see, for example, here in Sweden, the schools are still open, and I do understand why there's so many children that the schools are their only, or one of the only spaces where they are safe, or where they can get food and la la la, like, and I'm sure that's not just here. So I see the value in these like very basic needs in a way. But when it comes to learning and growth, I don't see how the system that how the system is built up is actually supporting that.
Mm-hmm. So you're seeing that the system, the education system, is good for offering food and, I mean, sort of certain needs, sort of basic needs like that. But in terms of growth and learning, that the school system is really not supporting, or you don't see how it's supporting that.
Yeah.
And you've been kind of critical about the whole how that system works.
Yeah, and what is also amplified right now is my concern about because I see so many of these like technological like answers to this, like all these like ed tech and Google Classrooms and all of these publishers and blah blah blah, and everything gets so individualized that I'm like, okay, this for me, one of the purposes that the school could have or could like be meaningful for is to learn how to be together. And now that's not even that, because everything is so individualized and then it's like, oh my god, is this crisis gonna even make that worse? I'm like, so I feel also worried about the consequences of this in long term.
Yeah, so this crisis is sort of dividing people, but the solutions that they're having are sort of technological solutions, which is very individualistic. And it's what you're really looking for is like a more relational, you see that the importance of relationships and relationship building as sort of a way forward, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and that was the time. Do you feel heard for now? Okay, I'll speak to James. You, James?
Listening.
Okay. Yeah. I really hear that about the relational part, and that's why I think that what we're doing here is more of a relationship building. So yeah, I see that a little bit what I guess Itza is mentioning, that the sort of these empathy circles are relationship building and might be a way to bring people together.
You resonate on the point of how connections between people deteriorating, and you see this as a way of bringing people together and learning how to be together.
And I've also been wondering, like, well, what to do? What's, within this new context, like, what's the best, most effective way forward? And I think it might be just holding these dialogues like this and seeing what emerges, because I don't really know. I think it's really about spreading, like, empathy circles. At least my role can be spreading empathy circles, getting the word out, facilitating them. But really what to do, I sort of am a little groping, but I do think that just kind of talking, sharing, hearing each other, that then the next step will sort of emerge of what to do next.
Yeah, you are curious about what will emerge. You recognize that you don't know what the best way to do this is. You have your sense of confidence in conversation and coming together and talking as a way to create the possibility of something better coming out of that. But and you see your role in spreading the basic empathy circle as something you're good at, and also wondering what else will come or what else will people bring in.
Yeah, it's like what to do next, that's effective. I mean, I had thought of having 24-hour empathy cafes like this. We just create a whole framework for it and get facilitators, and it just would be sort of ongoing. So that was kind of one idea. I'm not sure just like if people are really interested in that. So I guess it's really about finding the need, really. Then it's like, what is the need people have, and maybe how can we address that need with empathy circles or empathy in general. So I'm kind of like jumping around because I'm trying to figure it out myself. Yeah.
You're brainstorming and you have ideas coming up, like, for example, 24-hour empathy meetup, but you want also to make sure that really the need is the primary driving force for whatever you work on, and so you kind of want to
check that, yeah.
Check around for what that is.
So I'm kind of looking in the group, like what is everybody's needs, so it's sort of needs finding.
Needs finding of people in this group for what we want and what would be helpful.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
All right,
James.
Jennifer, would you listen to me?
Sure.
All right. Yeah, so what Itza and Edwin said resonate for me. I used to be a school teacher and have strong dislike, criticism about schools and how it seems like a lot of lost opportunity there, and skepticism about tech fixes. Not only that it's a poor substitute, but it's actually maybe even has more insidious purposes. I'm friends with the woman who coordinates online learning in New York City. I'm in New York, and some philanthropist gave 100,000 iPads, just donated them to the city. And I thought, on the surface, it looks great, but actually, there's a lot of problems with distance learning. And if you start from certain assumptions, like it was mentioning about individualism, it could be dangerous. And so I think technology is liberating or oppressive depending on how we use it. I also just came from a conversation with professional mediators and facilitators who are doing really interesting things. This is groundbreaking time, and some people were talking about being asked to facilitate conversations between 10,000 people. I mean, if you can imagine, right? Everybody's at home. Everybody's trying to get online, trying to figure out how to do it. They don't know how, and that's that's a lot of energy that is kind of like begging to be organized and become more coherent, and it will. You know, and so I see my role in that. Yeah, I'm going. Yeah. Tell me what you got so far.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is you felt a lot of resonance with Itza and with Edwin, that you actually also used to be a school teacher, and you hold a lot of criticism about the system and the way kids are educated, and that you also see this sort of tech solution coming on as sort of an alternative, but you also have some skepticism about that. And you gave the example of this woman in New York who gave out 100,000 iPads to children, and that maybe that could be good in some ways, but it's maybe creating even more individualism. And this whole idea of like the tech solution is something that maybe the jury's still out on. And you mentioned this mediator, facilitators that are doing, you know, groups of 10,000, and that there's like, this is maybe I'm missing exactly, but that there's a lot of opportunity there.
If I could jump in.
Yeah.
For me, the key point is that online is not fundamentally different, but if we have liberating conceptual structures, that will be, that's what's going to bring us together. You don't need technology to do that. You can do that in a room. You can do it online as well, but it comes from a liberating concept, not a technological gadget.
Okay, so it's less about the means and more about like the core philosophy in a way. When you say liberating, what was the word you used? Liberating
concept.
The liberating concept. Okay, so it's okay.
Specifically, the concept that I have in mind is coming together on what we have in common.
Okay.
That's a liberating concept that doesn't require a gadget.
Okay.
But if we do that, you know, we can learn. You know, we can do all kinds of things, work together. And if we don't, doesn't matter if we're online. We'll just be a little isolated. We'll be like isolated in our digital prison cells online. So.
Okay. So it's more about the liberating concept, and you can do that with technology. You can do that online, but it has to have that underlying impetus driving, whether it's in person or online.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. I feel heard.
All right, Fatima.
Listening.
Oh, okay. I notice I feel a lot of energy in my body. And yeah, this idea of like, oh, I want to get it right. I want to make sure that I got James, or that he feels heard and understood. Wanting to take a deep breath. And yeah, pause there for you.
You want to reflect back what you heard?
So you are feeling a lot of energy in your body, and you were wanting that James really felt heard and understood, and now you have to take a deep breath to get back to yourself. Is it this?
Yeah. I noticed something that's been coming up for me around all of this lately in the last couple of days, is this like pull almost to go down conspiracy rabbit holes. And I don't know if I want to go there. And so Yeah, I find I've been watching some videos. When I watch them, there's a lot of truth there. And there's a lot of things that don't make sense about this whole situation to me and the trade-offs that are being made. And especially at this point where we are now. And I feel myself drawn to some of these videos and these postings on Facebook. And yet I also know that I don't feel good when I go down that rabbit hole.
So you have been feeling attracted to this rabbit hole, as you say it, of the conspiracy theories and watching some videos about it. And some of it makes sense for you, but it seems to not be exactly good for you.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel there's this sense of me that's like very much like, I want to know the truth. I want to know what's real, what's true, and I want to get to the bottom of it. So there's that part of me. And then there's another part of me that's like, okay, there's so many different voices. You can believe anything and find facts to back it up. And ultimately, we're probably not going to know. And I know I don't feel good when I go down these things. So there's another part of me that just wants to hold on to this lightly and just be much more in the present moment, just be in my heart and be okay with not knowing.
Okay. So a part of you wants to really know the truth, the ultimate truth. But then there is also this other part of you that understands that there are so many voices and probably it's really not possible to find the exact truth, and wants to keep in touch with your heart and be living on the present moment.
That's right. Yeah, so I feel like I'm kind of straddling these two polarities. They're not, I don't know if they're polarities, but like truth on the one hand and like connection and present moment on the other.
Okay, so you are trying to balance these two, like truth in one side and being connected in the other, how they can go together.
Yeah. And similar to what Edwin was saying, I feel like this kind of work and related work that I've been doing for connecting people is so important right now. And I really want to be involved. And I feel like I don't quite know how. Like I don't know the best means for just really sharing my gifts.
So you think that this kind of work is really important in this moment, but you're not sure if you are giving it your best. Did I hear it clearly?
Yeah, just how to do it.
How to do it, okay. How to put your best in it.
Yeah, how I can best share my gifts in the need. Like have what I have to offer meet the need in the most efficient way.
Mm-hmm. So how you can be more efficient with your gifts.
Thank you, I feel heard.
Okay, so Itza, can you hear me?
I am here listening.
Okay, so in the personal level, I was really needing to have a stop because I was doing too much and trying to be in too many places at the same time. So I am now in the countryside, and far from my works. So it's lovely to have some time for me. And from this time, some creative parts are coming alive.
Yeah, so I hear that you needed some space and a pause from all of what was going on, and that in that you have found, or you took the decision to go to the countryside, and yeah, you've managed to get that space, and actually now like a creative part of you is flourishing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I was feeling that I'm a therapist and I work with groups too. So I was feeling that I was being overwhelmed with so many people that sometimes I truly could not remember whose story was whose. So it was ridiculous. And it was really too much. So I was in touch with many people, but not really connected.
Yeah, so I hear that you work as a therapist and that you were feeling overwhelmed and is having a hard time sorting out the stories, which one belonged to whom and how, and maybe also how you could like support them in that, and that so you heard many things, but you didn't feel connected to the people that were telling them.
Yes, and now that I'm here and I am talking to people mostly through Zoom, and I'm feeling that I'm deepening connections with some of these people, and that some there is much that I feel it mostly as an I feel very, very touched with what is being happening around me. And I also, inside the group I work with, we are having some Zooms that are not exactly empathy cafes, but are much similar, that we were having before, not presentially, you know, just, but people, it was very difficult for people to come regularly because they had to drive and then they have to go home. And now it seems that everybody is less stressed to be there virtually.
Yeah, so this group, or you have been working with a group, and before this, you had the experience that that there wasn't continuity with everyone, because yeah, people had to leave or could not be there, and now that yeah, maybe that everyone is doing this from their home or different places, we assume that there is this regularity, and you also mentioned that you felt very touched by the connection or what has been shared in these groups.
Mm-hmm. So in the middle of obviously being stressed with everything, but I also feel happy for what is happening in my surroundings. So it's mixed emotions, anxiety, and also joy.
Yes, I hear that there's this mixed emotions of anxiety. Maybe is it about what's happening like in the big picture?
No, it's
no?
in my inner circle, like the people I'm in touch. In one way, I feel anxious, but another way, I also feel very. Because it's difficult to explain without explaining, but there are like groups of young mothers that were all freaking out, and now they are talking to each other and supporting each other, and this is so lovely to see how they can calm down each other and they can laugh about the things they were crying before, and just putting them together was like a little magic. It was not doing anything. It's just sharing their stories was enough to feel them, to make them feel real again, and like they could understand that what they were feeling was shared, and this made so much difference for them.
Yeah, so you have both anxiety and happiness about what's happening, because there are very many difficult stories, and there has been a difficult dynamic in the group, but now you see that they're listening to each other and they're finding a common ground, which maybe is giving you a sense of joy in that.
This is a new group, so there was no dynamic before.
Okay, sorry.
So, and it's lovely to see them flourish. I don't know where it goes now. Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel heard.
So your turn, Itza, just choose wherever you would like.
Yeah, Jennifer, would you listen to me? No. I don't know. Right now, I feel like, oof, like there's many impressions, many words, a lot of, yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I can feel my heartbeat. My fingers are cold. My toes are cold. I'm actually feeling a little bit dizzy.
Oh, Jennifer, we're not hearing you. I hear you speaking, but for some,
Oh,
there
yeah.
you go. Uh-huh.
No?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. So right now it seems that more than words, you are really in your body and you're feeling your heartbeat a lot. Your fingers are cold, your toes are cold, and there's some dizziness.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm coming back to like something that I've been like reflecting on this, yeah, especially this week, and yeah, parts, or it started sometime last week of like, okay, if I'm thinking about the future, maybe it's because I'm trying to like push away something from my present. So like, what am I trying to not see, not feel, not be with?
So there's some sense you notice yourself going towards the future. And then there's this question that arises, like, by orienting that way, is there something in my present that I'm not wanting to see or feel?
Yeah, and there are many things in my present that I don't want to see or feel. I don't want to feel this dizziness, like it's uncomfortable. I got some pain in my body that I don't want to be feeling, actually.
Yeah, so you recognize that even right now in this moment, there are things that you actually don't necessarily want to feel that are uncomfortable, like the dizziness and places in your body which are in pain.
Yeah. Part of me is like is enjoying to do this scanning and be heard in it, and there's another part of me that is like, but you're supposed to be talking about stories or about something, I don't know what, but something other than this, I don't know. Yeah.
So part of you is really enjoying exactly what you're doing, just scanning the body and being with yourself. But there's this other part that's telling you you should be talking, you should be telling stories or doing something else.
Mm. Thank you. I'm complete.
Okay, I will go to Edwin.
Listening.
I notice in listening to Itza and being with her, I feel this invitation to slow down and to be more in my body. And yeah, just to kind of be in a different pace that sometimes can be hard for me, but that I really actually aspire to be more embodied and more slow.
So with Itza going into her body, sensing, slowing down, you're sort of appreciating that, and it's like an invitation for you to do the same thing. And it's almost like you have a desire to do that because you don't do it in maybe as much as you'd like.
Yeah, and I notice also as we're doing the circle, I do a practice called circling, which is, this is like one component of it. And there's others about sharing impact of like, you know, as a way of listening, sharing how what was said affected me. And also, you know, curiosity. And I notice myself wanting to do these other things and feeling like, okay, no, I have to, it's just listening, just reflecting.
So you do the circling process, and there's other components to that in terms of how you've been impacted by what someone else is saying. And then you're feeling that, oh, no, this is a different process. I need to just, you know, speak about myself, or I'm not quite sure what it is, but yeah, something like that.
Yeah, not so much talk about myself as just when I'm listening, not to add these other components, like just to purely reflect rather than share how what is being said impacts me.
Oh, so in the circling process, you're just comparing it to what we're doing here. In the circling, you would say how you were impacted by what the person said, and here you're just doing a reflection, and you're noticing the difference between those two. And you have sort of a drive. It sounds like a desire to do the circling sort of process.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a part that is appreciating the kind of stripping it away, like just having one thing to focus on and one thing to do. That feels, yeah, kind of relieving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's a sort of a appreciation and a sense of relief that you're just doing this one piece and it's kind of stripping the other part away. So yeah, just feel some relief with just doing this.
Mm-hmm. I think that's all I have for now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, feel heard. Okay, then speak to Fatima, if I may.
Yes,
yeah, okay. Yeah, I appreciated what Itza was doing of connecting with her felt experience, because I feel that is sort of the way to go deeper with empathy. You know, empathy is about sensing into others' experience, and to do, you know, if you can share your own feelings, that's you know, really helps that whole process.
You appreciated that Itza was getting in touch with her feelings and her body, because empathy is also about feeling what others are feeling, and when someone gets in touch with their feelings, they're facilitating this process.
Yes, that made me kind of curious, like, oh, what am I feeling? Like, what's going on inside myself? You know, what is my inner landscape of felt experience? And so there seems to be one part is I feel sort of this big sort of spaciousness. It's this black velvety sort of a spaciousness, you know, all around. And then sort of deeper, there's sort of a kind of a harder core feeling inside. That's yeah, it's yeah. So I'll start with that.
So you were asking yourself, so what am I really feeling? And it was this velveteen thing around, but then there's a harder part inside.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of, I noticed just like little twinges of maybe anxiety, you know, sort of, yeah, sort of something, little bit of anxiety.
So there's some little signs of anxiety, twinges. I don't know that word, but twinges of anxiety.
Yeah, just a little bit. You know, it's about that big, about that wide.
Okay, so it's like it has a specific side and a specific wide, and it's very concrete.
Yeah, and it's kind of like always there. You know, it's like this sort of little anxiety that's kind of sits there, and then there's this kind of a little bit of self-consciousness about sharing that kind of has arisen too. Like, oh, I'm sharing this thing. People are gonna say, oh, that's stupid. Gonna be judged for it, you know.
So in a way, you are feeling this that it's kind of always or many times there, and then you get self-conscious. I'm sharing this, and they will criticize me or judge me for sharing this thing.
Yeah, and I do notice by sharing it, it sort of spreads out. It's no longer so concentrated, and it's kind of spreads out. And as it spreads out, it actually feels very good. It feels sort of like it spreads out and it sort of tingles as it kind of is not so concentrated just by sharing it and you having reflected it. It feels like, yeah, so good. Feels good in my body. It's releasing, it released something that's kind of, yeah, it's actually sort of filling my whole body a little bit. Like some energy has been released.
So just by sharing it, the energy has been released, and then it goes like tingling through your body, and it changes to something that is pleasurable.
Yeah, and by sharing that, I kind of felt my breath kind of constrict a little bit too. It's like it tingled in my body, but my sort of breath constricted in it. I felt a little tightness in my breath.
So at the same time, this tingling was happening. Also, you felt that your breath was tightening a bit.
Yeah, and sort of a sense of, I gotta force myself to breathe, you know. Yeah, I felt, yeah, so I felt myself breathe. So, and that reminds me of the focusing process. I don't know if anybody here has done focusing, but it's just kind of staying with the felt experience in the body and just sharing that. And I think that just really, yeah, is something I like to add to empathy circles, is like, how do we bring in more of, you know, sort of more of that as a practice, so it doesn't just stay sort of conceptual.
Okay. So you kind of had to force yourself to breathe, and let me see if I got this right.
Yeah, because my breath was kind of constricting as I was sharing.
And this brought you to this centering possibility, and to bring this empathic affairs more embodied, to make them more embodied and in touch with the body.
Yeah, I feel very heard. Thank you, Fatima.
Thank you. So, James, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So it was lovely to hear Edwin. I was feeling always very connected, and lately I'm being it's very easy for me to get my English is not perfect, so to get teary eyes, like not crying, but to feel like, oh. So I was very touched by, it was simple, but it was so beautiful the way it went. And I always was also noticing the difference that happens in me when I feel connected.
Yes, you're touched by listening and following along with Edwin, and you feel your eyes become watery, and you notice that there's a big difference in how your body feels now.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense for me. In the beginning, I was seeing like 4 strangers, and who are these people? What am I doing here? I don't know how to do this. And I was retracting myself and like seeing how safe the space was.
So when you arrived initially, you felt contracted, and you wanted to check out the safety of the space first, and you noticed that these are strangers you're with.
And for this, it was in this moment when I was reflecting Edwin's feelings. I don't know, the feeling of connection and easiness that came along just made me feel my emotions just felt I could access my emotions, and before I was disconnected from them. Was this clear enough? I don't know.
I heard you say that you are noticing being disconnected, that you were disconnected from your feelings beforehand.
Yes, and now not anymore. So I think for now it's enough. Thank you.
Sure. Itza, would you listen to me?
Yes.
Thanks. What you were saying before about scanning your body reminds me of how useful it can be when I do that, and also how uncomfortable it can be when I do that with other people, especially because of it's like crossing a boundary from the social to something more authentic.
So when listening to me scanning, it reminded you of how useful it has been for you to do that process, but also how uncomfortable it is sometimes, and that you see. And I want to see if I understood this last part of that when there is a scanning and embodiment, that it goes from the interaction goes from being social and just this socially acceptable thing to a more authentic and honest, maybe.
Yes. I also resonated with what you said before about noticing yourself focusing on the future and wondering if that's a clue about avoiding something in you. And that also resonates with me. On this call, I found myself doing that a number of times in my mind, going to the future ideas of things happening, and then yeah, wondering what is going on in my body, feelings wise, more in the present that I don't like, and seeing if it's possible to make space inside of myself for more space for that discomfort.
Mm. So you resonate with the idea of the possibility of thinking about the future being a clue of trying to avoid something that is here now, and that you catched yourself doing that in this call, like thinking about other things that are coming and noticing, okay, coming back to your body and seeing that there is some discomfort, and you're wishing to have more space or to create space in you so that this discomfort can be there also, and that you can be present with that.
Yes, I notice now that it's not some discomfort, it's actually a lot of discomfort.
A lot of discomfort.
Yeah, it feels good somehow. It feels good to make that step from into acknowledging actually how much discomfort there is in me right now.
So there's a part of you that is satisfied with acknowledging and saying, yeah, this is really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I can feel it. I can feel the nerves in my back and lighting up, and that's what I've come to become familiar with, the surprising pleasure of becoming making space for my discomfort.
So you feel the nerves in your back, and you have had the experience of and you have the experience now also of creating space for that discomfort to be there.
Yes, and that it's very pleasurable.
And that it's pleasurable to create that space for that.
Yes, thank you. I feel heard. Fatima, would you listen to me?
Listening.
My heartbeat is not as intense as it was. Like, I'm noticing that my heartbeat is not as intense as it was the last time I spoke. And that I'm more like, my body is hotter. And I'm judging that as if I'm defrosting, maybe. Yeah.
So you can feel your heart, but it's not as strong as the first time you spoke. And your body is feeling a little bit warmer. And it's like you are unfreezing a little bit.
Yeah. And to realize, or to just name that shift in 20 minutes gives me a lot of like relief and perspective in a way.
And to realize this shift that happened in like 20 minutes, it gives you perspective.
Yeah, and relief.
And relief, okay.
Yeah. what I'm meeting with perspective is that there's this voice in me that doesn't want to feel the discomfort and the pain. I think that it comes from a belief of if I feel into it, then it's going to be there all the time, or that it's never going to stop in a way. Yeah, like I like my belief system is completely like not in the impermanence track. That it's like, okay, if you feel into it, it's gonna last forever.
Okay, so your belief system makes you think that if you get in touch with discomfort, and then you will be stuck there forever, and it will be overwhelming. That you didn't say it, sorry. That it will stay forever, never change.
Yeah. And to then now see that, okay, I had this heartbeat, I was freezing, and now I'm actually like starting to sweat. It's like, okay.
So now you are understanding that it has changed. You were freezing and your heart was beating so strong, and now the heart is calmed down and you are starting to sweat.
Yeah, so there is like this relief in my belly, like I can feel like I can breathe to my belly like fully. And at the same time there's tension in my neck, and my shoulders feel like completely like so there's this polarity of sensation.
So there is a polarity, like your belly is feeling freer and you can breathe in your belly, but then your shoulders and your back are really stiff.
Yeah, stiff resonates a lot. Did you make the sign of the time? No. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure. So, Jennifer, can you hear me? It's not.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I'm having lately the attention span of a small fish. And I'm always in need to space out very often. And it is happening. And I also have a small helper here. I will show him.
Aww.
That is just calling me to pet him, but is the perfect excuse. So I'm just curious about this thing that it's not new, but this need to space out and disconnect very often, mostly when I'm stressed.
So what I'm hearing is that lately your attention span has been the size of a small fish, and that there's a part of you that's spacing out frequently, and this seems to happen a lot more. You're noticing a connection between when that happens and being stressed.
So normally I would feel guilty. It was possible to feel guilty, but I'm now deciding not to feel guilty because it's such a spontaneous thing that happens. It's not exactly like I decide to space out. But I'm also Curious. I don't understand exactly, because sometimes my attention gets very focused, and sometimes it's really painful to keep my attention on.
So normally, in the past, this has been something that when it happens, you feel guilty about, but sounds like you're giving yourself more compassion and you're letting yourself off the hook. And I just forgot the last part of what you said.
I think maybe I forgot. No, I was.
I got it.
Okay.
That you can have really focused attention. And, oh wow. Okay, sorry, you go ahead.
No, it's okay. Maybe I'm being contagious to you. So sometimes it's really hard to focus, and sometimes it's really easy to focus, and sometimes it's almost too focused because I get really, and which is not bad. I like when I'm really involved in something.
So you notice sometimes it's easy for you to focus, and other times it's hard to focus. And you notice that sometimes you can focus so much that it feels almost overwhelming. You didn't say that.
No, it's like I'm just in flux, in flow, and it's like very, it's very pleasurable when I focus.
Okay, so yeah, the times when you can focus and find that flow, it's really pleasurable.
So I just keep my curiosity because I don't really know what makes me space out. In this conversation specifically, it's happening. So I wonder why my attention is coming and going. Maybe there is some things I don't connect, or some things that I don't want to hear, but I'm just curious about it, and I will try to accept it as it happens and not to go into the guilt thing.
So you're noticing in this conversation it's happening, that your attention is coming in and out, and instead of it feeling guilty about it or making it wrong, you're opening to it and getting curious and trying to accept it just for what it is.
Okay. Thank you. I feel heard.
Great. James, would you listen?
Yes, go ahead.
I notice that I resonate a lot with what Fatima just shared. And I find it quite interesting that I was having what she was describing as I was listening. And it's something that is a concern for me as well, because it is something that happens, that I space out sometimes, or I just get distracted very easily. And well, really almost exactly what she said.
You're surprised that you were having almost identical experience that Fatima was describing, of spacing out and not really knowing why.
Yeah, and I find it interesting that, I don't know, sort of in a holographic or intelligent space is how I choose to look at things, that how things appear in our experience that are reflections of what's happening for us or something to be learned.
So you would describe it as holographic, or that the space is intelligent, and that it's something is presenting itself, reflecting itself back to you to be learned. And I'm having a sound problem. I don't know if anybody else is hearing that.
Yeah, it's from Jennifer. I don't know if you're touching the microphone or something. It's
Yeah, it seems like if I just touch my computer at all, then something happens. I just need to keep my hands. Ah, yeah. Hmm. I notice I'm not really sure where to go, what to say. In a way, it seems like such an opportunity to have 4 people listening and 1 reflecting and like, oh wow, this is a chance to really share and get things, feel heard and, you know, and say stuff that's on my heart. And yet I find myself not really knowing what to say or where to go.
You're not sure where you want to go now, even though you think it's a great opportunity to have to be heard.
I noticed there's this part of me that this whole, what I was sharing earlier about like the conspiracy theories, like there's a part of me that's like wanting reflection on that, on what I shared, like, oh yeah, I have that too, or I don't know, hearing some, how, if anyone else has that sort of experience or yeah, has reflections on that coming up.
You really would like someone to be, you'd like some partnership in being interested in the conspiracy theories that you were mentioning, and to say like, yeah, I think I'm interested, I'm thinking about that too.
Yeah, and not necessarily I want other people to be believing them or hearing the same thing, but it's kind of this new thing that I haven't really talked about with anyone else. And so not knowing like, oh yeah, I resonate with that. I'm also questioning things. Or if they're like, oh, she's a nut job, like like not being able to know how that, if that's resonant in any way, or if that's just sort of like feels a little uncomfortable. And I notice there's some emotion coming up.
You feel uncomfortable not knowing if people are resonating with you or not, or if they're having judgments about you, about what you're interested in. I think you used the word nut job.
Yeah, it's not so much I feel uncomfortable not knowing. I might have said that, but somehow hearing it reflected, it's not quite how I feel. I guess it's more of a curiosity than it is a discomfort per se.
Yeah. So you're curious about what other people think, feel about what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Not discomfort, but curiosity.
Yeah. And I'm also feeling curious about, like, when I was sharing at the end around that, there was some emotion coming up. And, like, I also noticed, like, I don't know what the flavor of that emotion, but it was like, you know, also kind of watery eyes, just common for me. But there's curiosity around, like, what is that emotion?
I see it's time. I'll reflect that though. You felt that there was this emotion that came up when you noticed you were uncomfortable, and you noticed you had some watery, teary eyes, but you're not exactly sure what that emotion is.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Fatima, would you listen to me?
Yes, listening.
Just taking my time. I have a lot of energy in me. I described it as discomfort before. It doesn't feel like discomfort now. It feels more like anger.
Okay, so you were taking your time, and this energy that is coming, it's not so much discomfort, but now it's more anger. It looks more like anger.
Yeah. And I know that I have a habit of confusing anxiety with anger.
Okay.
So I'm, I think I'm not, something like that is happening. It might just be anxiety, or I might be going back and forth between anger and anxiety. Basically, having pictured, going to the future, thinking, kind of rehearsing things that I might do, that I might say, that would be upsetting, that would be alienating. So, kind of like I mentioned before, I'm curious, like, what's happening what's happening right now that I don't like, and I noticed it's a yawn, and I think the yawning reminds me I feel bored.
Okay, so sometimes or often you confused anxiety and being angry, and now it's like you are moving between these two and not exactly sure what is going on. And also you notice that you are going to the future, like seeing what will happen in the future if I do so and so, and would that be alienating or not? And you notice yourself yawning, and that reminds you that you are bored.
Not myself. I noticed it's a
yawning. Okay, sorry.
And but yeah, it reminds me that I feel bored. I feel bored with myself.
Okay. So as you saw, it's a yawning. You felt bored with yourself.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that there's something underneath the boredom, that the boredom is blocking some deeper feeling.
So you're pretty sure that there's something beneath the boredom, and the boredom is just keeping the other feelings
I know
hidden.
what it is. Yeah, it's frustration. It's frustration. Sitting with frustration and being tired of sitting with frustration.
So under the boredom is frustration and being tired of being sitting with frustration.
I really, yeah. Yeah. I really don't like this structure, and I'm angry at Edwin about it. And and I'm bored with the part of myself well, it's an incomplete thought, but I'm gonna end there. Thank you, Fatima.
So you don't like the structure, sorry. You don't like the structure, and you're angry at Edwin about that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so Edwin, can
Mhm.
you hear me?
Listening.
If my dog allows it.
Maybe I
Babalu,
should
no.
reflect back. Woof, woof, woof.
No. No. There's a cat outside. Okay. I'm sorry, there is not really a way that I can make, okay. Maybe come. Oh, so, I was wanting to say that I also feel this thing that Jennifer feels, this it's like a dead end, and because I know that some things are being probably hidden, and that there is some conspiracy going on. Not, I don't know exactly what, but I have this feeling that some people are lying, but I don't know which ones, and it makes me really frustrated not to be able to trust nothing or almost nothing.
So you're really resonating with what Jennifer was saying, that there is sort of this so hidden stuff in this society or culture, and it's just very frustrating because you feel frustrated because of that. It's just like hidden. There's not much you can do about it.
Yeah, and it's so many layers, but in a way I feel that I might, whatever I do, I might be a puppet. And that's really a little bit infuriating, that I cannot see clearly. I feel that is a fog and it's not possible to see it clearly.
So you're sort of sensing this fog, feel you can't see clearly, and that people may be manipulating you like a puppet.
And
So
it really brings me back to my childhood, that I already had this feeling that there was like a curtain between me and reality, because people were faking so much of the times that I couldn't know what was true or not.
So you kind of have that, it kind of brings back memories that as a child there was a lot of faking where you were, and you couldn't sort of see through it, and you didn't know what reality was because of all the faking.
And I really also decided to let go of understanding that, because that also means for me to be focusing in confusion and in other people. And I just decided not to get crazy, just to focus on what I can do and what I am feeling. But sometimes I am drawn to the other side, and who is telling the truth, who is lying. It's like tempting, but I try not to I try to resist. And I have a lot of friends that are conspiracy theorists. A lot, no, not a lot. I couldn't deal with a lot, but like 2 or 3 that they are really, how don't you see, why don't you see it? And I'm like, I don't want to see anymore. I'm fed up with this, just leave me alone.
Yeah, so you have friends who are sort of in this world of conspiracy theories, and they say, "Oh, why don't you see this? Why don't you go?" And you just say, "Leave me alone. You don't want to deal with it anymore," because maybe you just feel the frustration of where that leads to, and otherwise you just kind of on the other side, you just try to address what you can, deal with, address that, and try not to go into the conspiracy. world, but people call you into it.
And yeah, and in a way, what I see is that there probably both worlds exist. But if I do believe in all the things that are being said, I don't know if I really want to live here, and I don't have option. I live here or I don't live at all. So.
So if you believed in all these conspiracies, that you wouldn't want to live here anymore, or you mean in where you're at now, I guess, or?
No, in this world.
Oh, in the world. Okay. So if all that was true and you believed in all that, you wouldn't want to live anymore.
This is, I would like to think, I would have to think this is such a shitty world, and we as a race are just fucked up. So maybe we should all go, but I don't want to go there.
Yeah, so if you kind of go down that path, you'll just see everything's shitty, everything's bad, and you don't want to even live anymore. So you don't want to go down that path.
Yeah, and yeah, I feel heard.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Then I'll speak to Itza.
I am here.
Yeah. So in terms of conspiracy, I tend to think of empathizing with, people. It's like, have any conspiracy you want and just sort of try to empathize with that, try to hear it. So that's sort of my way of dealing with it. Just a reflection on that first. Yeah,
so your response to conspiracy theories is to try to empathize and see what is underneath the conspiracy, maybe.
Yeah, so I grew up a conservative, and then I did a lot of traveling, 10 years of traveling around the world at an early age, and then sort of moved towards the politically progressive side. And then you kind of get a certain worldview, there's sort of a certain reality. And then I started doing this empathic mediation between the political left and right. And it was sort of like moving from one worldview to the other, and each one seems kind of coherent and understandable when you kind of go into that view.
So you you come from, your roots are in the conservative, from a conservative family or context, and after that, or you have traveled and you have moved to a more progressive, and then in your work as a mediator or working with mediation, you've come to see both sides and what makes sense in both of these maybe apparent polarities.
Yeah, there's sort of a worldview, a whole felt experience. You see the other side as doing all this evil kind of stuff, and then I kind of move into the conservative world, and it makes sort of sense, what they're saying, and then I move in the other world, and that makes sense. So it's like there's sort of this space of things making sense, and so I've kind of moved towards just listening to both sides, empathize with you, and then let's bring the different sides together to empathize with each other. And we just keep doing the dialogue that we're doing here. So what we're doing here is sort of my solution to that. Is like, bring the conspiracy theorists, bring whoever it is, the people who are the elites, right? Let's bring the elites, the rich elites, into an empathy circle to, have these discussions. So this is sort of the space for all that to get sort of hashed out.
So for you, this space is a way to get to what is underneath all these comparisons, or this apparent polarities, or different worldviews, and see what to give those empathy, and see when we do that, what do we have in common, and where can we meet?
Yeah, and my sense is we sort of have these empathic dialogues, so the layers get pulled away. It's like there's sort of more trust built in the layers, and you get sort of towards a deeper truth through mutual empathy. It's not just empathizing with other people. It's like, you know, I'll start with empathizing with whoever, but the ultimate goal is let's get into a mutually empathic dialogue.
So for you, the aim is to get into a mutual empathic space, and you see the value in that, in giving empathy, for like to peel the layers so that that space or the trust and the connection to create the empathy,
Connection, understanding,
yeah, that the empathy goes both ways.
Mutual, that it becomes
yeah,
mutual.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
And then, oh, sorry, go ahead, finish.
No.
Okay, yeah.
Please.
So then that's that, so addressing what Jennifer and Fatima were talking about, so how I sort of navigate that. And I do get into that, you know, can get into sort of a paranoid sort of, you know, space, but then out of that, you can just kind of empathize your way out of it, or that's what I try to do. So that's the one part. The other part is James, in all these calls, he's, oh, I'm so upset with Edwin. Oh no, it's about a time. I'm just going to address James. Darn it. Okay, you just reflect that last part.
Yeah, so you got disappointed when seeing that the time was out, that you really, really wanted to also address James' comment.
Exactly, I feel heard, thank you.
Yeah, James, would you listen to me?
Gladly.
Yeah, there's part of confusion in me around what a conspiracy is, actually. Like, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm feeling like into my belly is like are we talking about like, yeah, and I don't feel motivated to go into that.
You feel you don't feel motivated. You feel something in your belly, and like, that's you don't want to go into about what is the conspiracy that we're talking about, that's being spoken about.
It's not about it's not about which conspiracy, it's just like, what is conspiracy? Yeah. I have been so like, my tradition, or what, I don't know what to call it, but I've been into like for the left and progressive and stuff, and there what I have heard from many is that many things that the left does is conspiracy theories, or for example, I'm a huge fan of Naomi Klein, and many people say that her theories or her research is conspiracy, and then it's like, what is actually a conspiracy? And yeah. I'm happy to hear your reflection.
Yeah, you're aware that the left gets called conspiracy theorists, and you resonate with Naomi Klein's ideas, and you know that people call her ideas conspiracies, and so you'd like to know what we're talking about, what exactly we mean by conspiracy.
Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I am not super curious about it. Like, it's not alive in me, the conspiracy thing. Yeah, it's I notice that it's alive in the conversation, but it's not, I don't feel it alive in me.
Yeah. You're acknowledging that it's alive for other people here, and for you, it's not.
And I'm checking what it is that is alive in me. Yeah, there are like a lot of thoughts about the structure of the circle and about what empathy is. Yeah, I'm noticing myself, like I'm thinking of, oh, but is empathy like really just getting like a mirroring, just in with the same words that I am using? Is that empathy for me? Does that like, yeah. And it's very valuable to have this awareness, or to just have the question feels valuable. Yeah.
So you're checking what is alive in you right now. If it's not that other thing, what is actually alive in you? And you're discovering that you're curious about the structure, you're curious about empathy itself, and whether is it this mirroring and just repeating of your words, or is it something else? And you're thinking of it, just that investigation has a lot of value to you.
Yeah.
And I notice that it's time.
Thank you.
Just ask, what time do we go to in this breakout room?
We have another 15 minutes through the top of the hour, then we'll have to come back together.
Edwin, would you listen to me?
Listening.
So I noticed a moment ago when you were about to talk about me, I was really happy, and I also wanted to adhere to my understanding of my member role here, and that in general, time is important to me. Being clear with time boundaries is important to me, and so I chose to be honest, exactly, and interrupt you, even though I wanted to hear you go on.
Mm-hmm. So when I mentioned your name, you felt some happiness come up, but you also have a value of time, of the structure of the time, and so you wanted to keep to that. And there was something else about responding in some way, but yeah.
I'm torn because I'm torn at a very fundamental level. I think I want to live my value of honesty and say what's on my mind, and that is that I am very upset that you changed the boundaries of the facilitator support group, and without inviting any discussion about it. And so I sat at the facilitator support group last week, where the new boundaries excluded me, and I sat there kind of in a silent atomic rage for 2 hours.
So you're just sharing that the sort of the structure, you feel that the structure of the facilitators group was changed and that there wasn't sort of a consultation with you or with others. And because of that, you were just feeling kind of just sitting there in rage for the 2 hours of the process because you felt it didn't really include you.
That's right. And so since then, I've been asking myself, how do I want to be involved or in a place that doesn't seem to value what I'm bringing? Do I want to come with a silent presence and observe? Do I want to attack it, attack you, attack the other leaders of the group, or do I want to leave? Or is there something else that I want?
Yeah, so you're really kind of evaluating what to do if there's a group that doesn't really value what it is that you're bringing. Do you want to just sit there quietly, or do you want to attack the leaders, or do you want to leave? And so you're just sort of sitting with that and trying to decide what to do.
Mm-hmm. I know it's valuable for myself to make room for that discomfort. So there was a lot of value to me to sit there during that meeting and make a lot of room for my anger and my discomfort inside of myself. Not just at the meeting, but this whole past week.
Yeah, so you're just, you know that it's good for you to just sit with the discomfort and make room for that and just be present with it. And you've had that over the past week, and you see there is a benefit in doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. I do. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Jennifer, can I speak to you?
Yes.
I guess there's, yeah, well, the thing I was starting to say before to Itza was, I always, James, when he comes to the circle, he talks a lot about his dissatisfaction with the process. And the way I sort of see it is somebody says, hey, let's do skiing. And then somebody says, no, I want to do scuba diving. And it's like, great, scuba diving is great, but this has been set up to do skiing. So that's sort of how I see sort of the part of the discussion, kind of the issue.
So you notice that often when James comes, he has a lot of dissatisfaction. And from your point of view, it's like, okay, you know, if we're going to do something all together that we agree on, like skiing, then that's not scuba diving. And so we're skiing here.
Yeah, we're not doing circling either. It's like circling is great, you know, but we're doing this process, and that's sort of the agreement when we come into it. This is sort of the agreement of what we're doing.
Yeah, we're not doing circling either. By coming in and doing this process, that's what we're agreeing to, is this process.
And the process that James is bringing in before, I think is great. I think it's very interesting. It's like, hey, this is really a cool process, and I learned a lot about it. But the original intention of that group that James is talking about was not for practicing different practices. It was maybe not clearly articulated at the beginning, but the intention kind of got sort of changed just by lack of clarity about what the intention was, perhaps.
So if I understand correctly, when there was an opportunity and James brought something that wasn't this process, and it was cool, it was great, you liked it, but it wasn't what was established as this process. And kind of explicit within this process is that is what we're going to do.
Yeah. So I'm kind of sad about that, you know, James is feeling, you know, dissatisfied with it, because I think that what he's bringing is great, that is his practice. And I'd like, if he wants to hold some, you know, circles, you know, organize them, set them up for that, you know, I would probably take part just to learn more about it and go more deeply into it. So yeah, so that's kind of where I was coming from.
So I hear that you feel sad that he's dissatisfied with the process, because you value him and you value what he brings. And if he was going to do what he wants to do somewhere else, it might even be something you would want to attend, but it's not the context that you're setting up for what you want to do with this process.
Exactly, because I'm very focused on the empathy circle practice, because I see the benefits of what we're doing here as sort of a gateway practice, that I'm not real interested in going super deep. I'm interested in spreading it wide, so that the culture, that we could spread this practice as a gateway practice as widely as possible throughout the culture. So I like to get, you know, leaders, Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi, et cetera, doing empathy circles. You know, they don't, because it's the easy first step to all these other practices. So that's really, you know, my deeper, you know, intention. So you see the benefits of what we're doing here is sort of a gateway practice.
So you really value and see that this is a gateway practice. And so it's not necessarily about depth and seeing how deep you can go, but it's more about breadth. And how can we take this particular practice, kind of strip away all the other elements and bring it out as widely as possible. Even people at the very top, like Trump and Pelosi, could have access to it and could do it. And
yeah.
So that's
and
really the value.
Exactly. And I'm looking at the political action of how do we actually do that? How do we set up empathy tents in front of the White House or the Capitol Mall when the coronavirus is passed, and actually demand that politicians do empathy circles with each other? So that's why I'm working with Extinction Rebellion, is because those are a group of people who are very action oriented. And, you know, it's been really great working with Extinction Rebellion in this regard.
Okay, so I'll just reflect. So you have this vision of even like having empathy tents in front of the White House, in places where people can go and do this kind of process. And that's one of the reasons that you've teamed with Extinction Rebellion, is because they're about action and how can we do this and spread this widely.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. And your turn is like, if you just do 4 minutes, since we're gonna end after that.
Okay, Lisa, would you listen?
Yes. And I just want to say that I may be kicked out because I have some, yeah, maybe. Just.
Okay. I noticed that I feel a lot of aliveness at the moment.
So you're very, very alive.
I can really feel Edwin's passion about this work and the clarity of his vision. And there's something about that feels inspiring to me.
So you feel inspired by what you just heard Edwin share, and also how he shares it, and the clarity of the vision that he has about this work.
Yes, and I also noticed that as someone who traditionally, historically avoids conflict, and then I notice my system gets very activated by what I perceive as conflict. And so even though I don't know if I would qualify between Edwin and James as conflict, it was something that definitely activated my nervous system.
So you felt how your nervous system got activated by something that you interpret as a conflict, or something that could be a conflict between Edwin and James. And yeah, you just was something in you that reacted to that.
Yeah, but in a good way, because I've been working a lot with conflict and trying to just be with. And so I appreciate when conflicts, what I perceive as conflict, or something that activates me in the way that conflict does, because it gives me the opportunity to be with it.
So you appreciate this opportunity to be with the conflict because, yeah, it's a learning process of how to be with it and how to stay in it, and maybe to create or to be in it in a constructive way, in a way that gives you, is it that it gives you hope?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like conflict is so much a part of life and is so much a part of the collective. And it's something that I want to be able to engage with rather than retreating from. So I find the more I can be with it in my system, the more easily I can be with it in the world.
Yes, here. So that you're appreciating this invitation to be with it, because then you, yeah, you can also manage it in another way and actually engage with conflict instead of going away from it. Since you see that conflict is a natural, maybe part of being human. So you want to build up on this internal internal resources to engage with it.
Yeah. I'm noticing. I think we're probably going to be kicked off.
60 seconds.
7
Oh, she hit the button. She hit the wrong button. She just joined. That we're going back to the main call. So thanks everyone for.
Jumped the gun.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Nice
See you
meeting
in
you.
the main room.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you had 45 seconds left.
Darn. Okay, well now before everyone comes back, I was just wanting to also acknowledge when Fatima, because when she shared about her experience with conspiracy theories and friends and how she's in relationship with it, it just something about it gave me a lot of comfort and appreciating that a lot.
So you want to give recognition to Fatima about her sharing, that it gave you a lot of comfort to hear someone else speak about this.
I feel complete.
Thank you.
Now I'm back.
Okay, everybody's coming back. We're give it a few. I think is everybody back? Okay. Welcome back. Oh, got a timer. Okay. Welcome back. So we have, a little time to sort of debrief. And I know some people, if it's late for you, this is a good time to just drop out, but would love to hear your feedback. So we want to go around and just hear from everyone, take a couple minutes, 2 minutes, maybe up to 2 minutes. Just how was the experience for you, and kind of any learnings that you had, or any insights or anything you'd like to share. Bill, would you be willing to go and just select people to speak?
Sure. I'm just going to go on my screen. So first comes up Jennifer. Oh, sorry. I'll skip Jennifer. Chew and swallow, please. We don't want to be responsible for choking death on this call. Itza, if I pronounce that correctly.
I don't know if I have so much to say right now. It usually takes me like some time to digest processes or and to see what actually stays with me. So, yeah.
Okay.
I'll pass. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Jennifer, how you doing? Are you ready?
I'm ready, yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you. I enjoyed that process a lot. One of the things that I shared that's still alive for me is there was a part of me based on other modalities that I've done that was wanting to share impact of what I was hearing instead of just the reflection of the content. And I was like wanting to do more. And so I was feeling in some ways kind of limited by the form. And then there was another part that was really appreciating it, like stripping away everything and just focusing on the person and tracking what they said and being more at that level. So yeah, that's just something that's standing out for me right now. But I'm feeling really grateful for this and the opportunity to do it.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. James?
Thank you. I will pass.
Okay, thanks, James. Fatima, and please correct me if I pronounced that incorrect, please. Sorry.
Yeah, it's Fatima.
Fatima. Okay.
Your try was great. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so I thought it would be tiring, and it wasn't. And what I take is something that Edwin said in the end, because I was kind of thinking, why don't we go deeper? And he said, it's not to go deeper, it's to be easy. And that makes a lot of sense for me, because it can really open the door to other stuff for people that are just coming to, like, starting to want to share something. So I really understood why it is as it is, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I really loved it.
No, great. Thank you. Marta?
Yeah, I'm really happy today because I had, they weren't with me in the circle, but I have, Matt and Fatima and people I love here that I hadn't been in circle with. So today was great. It was nice meeting Alex, and a thing I'm taking away is that we can also share silences. If it's our 5 minutes and what we want to share is a silence, we can be listened to without words. That is also a possibility. That felt nice.
Thank you, Marta. Sarah?
I really appreciated other people sharing their experience, strength, and hope. Yeah, to coin a term from another. Yeah, I'm really kind of sitting and with the shares. I learned a lot about what's happening in other countries. I also had a great takeaway about solutions, how to move forward with the situation of COVID-19 and how to address this. And I believe I'm not allowed to say any names, but one member shared the saying that there's a finite capacity of environmental concern during a pandemic. If people are already stressed about their health and well-being, they might not be open to joining large-scale actions. So I appreciated that comment significantly. And we also explored death, the idea of death, and coming to terms with that. Thank you.
Okay. Light conversation. Matt?
Yeah, it was my first experience of this, and I was lucky to be in Bill's group, and I felt that it was a real privilege to hear more, to turn two-dimensional people into three-dimensional people, and hear a lot more about everyone in the group. And I'd been I'd been hearing about this from Marta for a long time. everything's empathy circle this and empathy circle that. So it's nice to nice to get an experience of what it can offer. And yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I really appreciate, like, we're all coming to this from such different in such different situations, and it's really good to yeah, to feel heard and to help others feel heard as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, Carolina.
My experience is quite similar to Sarah's experience. We were talking a lot about different situations in different cities, different countries, and about our fears or worries we experience, the unknown ahead of us. So it was kind of the whole spectrum of things we were talking about. Yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you. Peter?
I quite enjoyed it, mate. I learned a little bit more about the other people in the room, their feelings, how their feelings have been altered even towards the ones in the house by the enforced captivity, if you like. So having to get along with people in a different way, but on the other hand, having more meaningful discussions than they would normally have if everything was okay. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. We talked about a few things, how maybe possibly we can learn things to put into action come the climate change, but still we can put things into action now. We may be trapped inside, but thanks to the internet, we are just a click away from anybody. So there's a lot we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. AC?
Yeah, thanks. This has been really cool. I'm really happy to have been able to join this practice and to meet like such cool and to steal that word, three-dimensional maybe people. Like this is a really cool platform, I think, for connection, and I was really astounded by like some of the authenticity that came out in our group, and just the ways that we can connect, the spaces that were kind of like formed for people to share and connect, and I'm just like very, very happy, appreciative, and thankful to have been a part and to have met and conversed with y'all.
Yeah, thank you. Ben?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, some quite heavy subjects, but you know, good discussion, good, you know, quite profound. Yeah, I mean, yeah, good contributions from everybody.
Thanks, Ben. Sally? Can you hear us, Sally? You're muted. Sally was having some problems. She might not hear. Okay. So again, I don't know, Itza, whether you've like thought of something, but I just wanted to give you a chance. No pressure. You can still. Oh, there's Sally too. Okay. So think about it whether you want to go or not. Raise your finger if you want to go after Sally goes. If not, then we'll just go on. Okay. Sally, could you?
Yeah. I think. Well, I was able to go from boiling and just the steam, all that, to it became an opportunity for connection, and that this is maybe that I forgot what the word is for it, but a synergistic opportunity for us to grow as the XR and all the empathy community, and I really got a lot out of the people in my group, and just felt assured that this is not something caused by a country. And so I'm moving on.
Okay, great. All right. And I'm always impressed. I always like to meet new people. I find that I feel connection through this process. I feel, connection with people, and I'm always very appreciative. I'm appreciative of the reach out that I find that everybody who I've been in the circle with has, shown. And I think that that's bodes very well for the human race, that we have that capacity. And I'll hand it back to you, Edwin.
Okay, was Itza here, or did you want to speak?
Oh.
Yeah, I can say something. Yeah, that I see the value of this for XR, and I'm feeling like quite inspired to create something like this, or to continue with them with the simplicity of the structure as I see it. So yeah, so feeling inspired, tired, and also like it's happy to just meet so many random people from like everywhere. Yeah, feels joyful in me. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So let's see, for me, we in our group, we didn't talk too much about COVID per se. It was more about the, how we're feeling, and we did get into that, which I really, really enjoyed our felt sense. And for me, it was this space, this feeling space, and just seeing what emerges, like just not knowing what is next, and waiting to see what comes up next, and sitting with that. And then also, again, there was a little touch on conflict and just the energy that conflict brings, just, yeah, we need more conflict for the energy that it brings. Yeah, there's something about that is good for the energy levels. In moderation, that it doesn't totally blow up, because I have a sense of responsibility to keep the whole system, everything kind of going, all the technology. So that takes a bit of my time and awareness. So let's see, we have about 15 minutes. So for next steps, when we've been looking at how to spread this. Do we want to do more of these cafes for around the COVID topic? And so maybe any ideas on how to sort of next steps, because now everyone here has done this practice. You've sort of, gotten the taste of how it works. And basically with just a few instructions, you're able to set up your own empathy circle. So maybe we could just go around quickly. And do you have any ideas for next steps you would like to do with empathy circles? Would you like to take part in some more? Would you like to facilitate some? Or just anything else? So maybe we'll just go around quickly. I definitely want to hold a bunch more. I want to spread them as widely as possible. We've got a bunch coming up. We've got one on Friday. We have the same topic, and then we have the facilitators group. And on Saturday, we have the XR 10 principles. We're doing a series of 10 empathy cafes on each of the principles. So it'd be great if any of the XR folks come and take part in that. And then next week we'll have some more. Roger Hallam has said that he would do an empathy circle with us, so that's in the works. I just did a pre-circle about a conflict with XR US and XR America, which I just posted to our group. So that's kind of in the works. There's a lot of different projects in the works. So maybe I'll just go around if you want to say something about any ideas going forward with empathy circles. I'll just go by the screen here. Itza, if you want to just, any ideas?
Yeah, I'd love to set up something here. I'm having a difficulty with the different time zones. That's why I haven't been here before. So yeah, for me, it's just gonna be like thinking about how can I do this here without maybe the support of you or other people or facilitators that maybe are somewhere else. So maybe when I'm saying this, what comes up for me is there a facilitator group that is in Europe that one can get support from to get set up?
Yeah, maybe we should set that up, is maybe an earlier time that works at it's not so late for Europe. And we need to do that for Australia as well, I think. So we do have one, that's one right now on Fridays. It's rather late, but we can talk. Marta and Carolina, they're in Europe, so we can talk about that. Perhaps you'd like to kind of help with that, set up a facilitators group too, so we could.
Yeah, I'm running a group every Saturday at 6:30 GMT, I think. No, 8 p.m. GMT. So if you want to come, you'll have to look at what time it is on, time conversion. And it's posted on one of the NVC boards. So if you're interested in, checking it out that way, like, yeah, go ahead.
In one of the what boards? NVC.
Nonviolent communication boards. Okay, so if you don't know about it.
No, I know NVC, but what, in where?
Yeah,
I don't know about those boards.
Yeah. There's some nonviolent communication groups on Facebook that sometimes these events get posted to. So yeah, like anybody's willing to come. Anybody's welcome to come.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, we just keep going quickly. I know it's pretty late for Europe. You're probably all getting really tired. So Marta, any thoughts?
Yeah, so me and Carolina are just doing some training for XR Australia that we've done. That was nice, sort of developing it. And I think we could. I mean, we have the facilitator meeting on Fridays that is useful, but we could do another one if there was enough interest, I suppose. Yeah, cool. So it's just seeing how much of an interest there is and setting it up at different times. But yeah, but like we had an empathy circle in Ireland the other week. There was 27 people there, and there's groups in Switzerland, there's groups in all these countries that are happening, and there's like Edwin's website's got lots of materials on how to facilitate, and we're all happy to help and support.
Bill?
Well, yeah, I've been doing this for a couple of years now. I've taken it to the Empathy Tent, which is our sort of outreach to farmers markets and to political rallies or not, protests. I feel that I'm growing, and I'm willing to be part of any kind of support group that people would like. I'm looking to put it into schools as well. Thank you.
Thanks. Sarah?
I really appreciate the focus on COVID-19. I'm interested in looking at solutions and adapting people who have experience with action steps, direct action steps, because of seeing current policies and wanting to go past a sense of helplessness. And so would love to have empathy circles and also invite discussions on what are actual solutions.
Okay, thanks. Matt?
Yeah, like the thing that attracted me to this call wasn't the focus on COVID, although I see that I guess that having a topic helps conversation and helps all of that, even if quite a few of our groups probably didn't focus on that for a lot of the time, but that is a big part of our reality at the moment. Yeah, I wonder whether it's something that could be offered to healthcare workers, because yeah, it's kind of easy to be disconnected and not really be aware of what they're facing at the moment. Yeah, that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Yeah, for the healthcare, that'd be really good if we could set something up, because just to be heard for what you're going through, just so you don't feel alone, be able to express yourself, so that we could do more to support people who are in emotional need within empathy circles. So it's a peer-to-peer mutual support too. So yeah, Carolina.
I'm interested in two things. First, yesterday I had empathy circle here in Poland, and one of the participants was in quarantine, so totally closed, isolated, and being really in trouble because of that, psychologically, feeling horrible, not being able to go outside was kind of very harming to the emotional condition. And this is one thing. People in quarantine, in isolation, if they have opportunity to go online, they probably will need more support. And the other thing that I'm working actually on it, is adaptation, implementation of restorative empathy circles and any conflict processes into structure of XR movement into SOS. That's the area of my interest. So every group can deal with their problems and tensions in a group.
So conflict tools as a tool for addressing conflict, as well as what can we do to just support society in this time of need, especially those who are like isolated and quarantined, etc. Okay, Peter, thanks. Peter? You still there, Peter? You're muted. There you
Me?
go.
Is it me? Okay. Yeah. No, I'm going to try get to a few more. I don't think I'm competent enough to actually hold one myself yet. But once I get to that level, I'll try get the people in my group. And I know actually one lady did. I don't know her name now because now we're all isolated. I don't see her at the meeting. But one lady from my group did actually come in the last one I came in as well. And so, but she's not here tonight. So maybe me and her can do something with the other members of the group. The only problem that we've got, of course, we just said it's Wednesdays, is that we're now doing coffee evenings for the group online every second Wednesday, and the other Wednesday we're having our meeting. So, so there will be a conflict kind of Wednesday-wise, but the other ones, I'll try to get to them.
Okay, great, thanks. I see AC, is that?
Yep. Sure, yeah, I'd just love to do more of these. It's a really great experience. And so I'll try to bring some people to the next one too.
Great, yeah, we'll get them trained up and start holding a bunch on your own too. So we're here to support you too, to take that next step. So, okay, thanks for hanging in there for the full 2.5 hours, everyone. It's a real pleasure just to be with you, and hope to see you Friday or whatever, or especially Saturday too, would be great. Both days, come both, so take care. Oh, you got a T there, Peter?